The 90s. Home to some of the most iconic anime and manga of all time. Series like Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, Case Closed, Inuyasha, and many, many more. One series from that era that is still talked about and respected to this day is Yu Yu Hakusho. A story about a badass 14-year-old boy named Yusuke Urameshi who gets killed one day by getting hit by a car and is given a second chance at life by becoming a spirit detective for Koenma, the son of the ruler of the afterlife, King Gamma. Initially, the story starts off with Yusuke investigating many paranormal cases dealing with demons and spirits in the human world along with his friends. But as the series progresses, it begins to focus more and more on martial arts, battles, and tournaments. Now, despite the series being almost as popular as Dragon Ball was in the 90s, Yu Yu Hakusho doesn't have many games, only having about 20 titles and many of them only being playable in Japan. Despite that, Yu Yu Hakusho does have 3 well-known games coming from the early 2000s, those being Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament for PlayStation 2, Yu Yu Hakusho Forever for PlayStation 2, and Yu Yu Hakusho Spirit Detective for Game Boy, a game that is regarded as one of the worst anime games of all time. So yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho doesn't have a good gaming history. But today, I'm going to come up with something that can change that. What's good, YouTube? I'm Red Ronnie, and today I'm going to show you my idea for the perfect Yu Yu Hakusho game. So out of the 3 games I told you about already, only one of them wasn't a fighting game. That being Yu Yu Hakusho Spirit Detective. It was an action-adventure game, which is part of the reason why I believe it didn't work. Remember how I said the series switched its focus from mystery solving to martial arts battles? Well, that's where the best moments in Yu Yu Hakusho actually happen, during those battles. So the only genre that can really work for a Yu Yu Hakusho game is fighting. That's just facts. Now, what kind of fighting game would this be? Well, it's a toss-up between a 3D arena fighter that is seen so often in anime games today, and a 2D fighter similar to that of Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, lately, 3D arena fighters haven't really been receiving much love from fans, and it's well deserved too. Just look at games like Jump Force and One Punch Man or Hero Nobody Knows. Very mediocre to say the least. But still, there have been a couple good arena fighters, such as the Naruto Storm series and the My Hero 1 Justice series. So, it could still work. On the other hand, 2D fighters are much more loved thanks to the competitive gameplay. Dragon Ball FighterZ wasn't just loved by anime fans, it was also loved by fighting game fans in general. So I think our best bet is to go with a 2D fighting Yu Yu Hakusho game, because not only will it put Yu Yu Hakusho back on the map to newer anime fans, but it will most likely regain more popularity worldwide thanks to it being a more competitive fighting game. As for who should develop this game, it should definitely be Arc System Works. They developed Dragon Ball FighterZ and Kill la Kill If, 2 very visually stunning anime games, with the former being played at EVO, an annual esports event that focuses solely on competitive fighting games. And now that we have our genre, let's talk about the roster. Alright, so even though Yu Yu Hakusho doesn't really have the greatest world building in anime, it does have a great cast of fighters with cool and unique abilities to put inside a fighting game. So let's go down the list of each of the characters that I think should make the cut in this game. The first character obviously being Yusuke, then of course the rest of the team Urameshi, Kurama, Kuwabara, and of course the OG edgelord Hiei. Now for the rest of the roster, they're basically going to be the characters that were playable in both Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament and Yu Yu Hakusho Forever. So starting with the characters who were playable in Dark Tournament: Genkai, Younger Toguro, Elder Toguro, Bui, Karasu, Chu, Rinku, Roto, Zero, In, Ryo, Kai, Dr. Ichigaki, Jin, Toya, Risho, Gamma, Suzuka, I always fuck up this name, Chichi Wakamaru, Makintaro, Kira Momotaro. And now for the characters that would be added from Yu Yu Hakusho Forever: Koenma, Shinobi Sensui, Shigura, Ryzen, Yomi, Mukuro, Shura, and Enki. That would give us a total of 33 playable characters. And that's a little high for a 2D fighter, so that's why some of these characters will be DLC instead, most likely being the characters from the Yu Yu Hakusho Forever. So that would make 25 playable characters in the base game. As for DLC, there would be the characters from Forever, as well as some different versions of playable characters. So off the top of my head, Demon Form Yusuke and Young Genkai will be DLC. This would be similar to how there's a lot of forms of Goku in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So that gives us 25 playable characters in the base game, with at least 10 characters coming in maybe 2 seasons of DLC. That sounds like a pretty good roster size to me. Now let's move on to game modes. So in most fighting games, there are different game modes for players to try. These game modes are almost always the same thing in every fighting game. That being story/arcade mode, free battle mode, online mode, and training. For the story mode, players will play through the entire Yu Yu Hakusho story. It honestly wouldn't be that long considering the fact that the Yu Yu Hakusho anime is only 112 episodes long. That's right, I said only 112 episodes. I'm a One Piece fan, people. That's nothing to me. But yeah, you would play through the entire story, which would work well because the majority of the fights in Yu Yu Hakusho are one-on-one battles. For free battle, it would be just like any other free battle in any other fighting game. This is where you would have local multiplayer or versus CPU fights. Online mode, pretty sure I don't have to explain online mode, but just put the online modes from Dragon Ball FighterZ in the game, so like party battles and stuff like that. As for training mode, I'm not even going to go over that. You know what that is, I'm not wasting my time. So yeah, that would be the game modes in this game. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Okay, so I know I keep bringing up Dragon Ball FighterZ, but it helps me show you what I want this game to be like. So yeah, this game would play very similar to Dragon Ball FighterZ, except without the use of Dragon Balls and Dragon Rushes, because those are, Dragon Ball related things. There could be something identical to Dragon Rush that characters use in this game, but it'd be called something like, Spirit Rush or something like that. Speaking of characters, players would choose a maximum of 3 characters to fight with, where you would start with one character and the other characters would switch out and provide assisted attacks, just like in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Like most anime fighting games, and fighting games in general, each character will have multiple special abilities and an ultimate attack they can perform when their energy gauge is full. Some characters will also have awakenings they can achieve, such as Yusuke's Demon Form and Hiei's Black Dragon Form. Real quick, one thing I didn't mention before is that I feel like this game should have an English dub version with the original dub cast. Now, I'm not sure about every character in this series, but I do know that the English voices of the main cast are still working with Funimation, so it shouldn't be a problem. And as much as I love to hear Yusuke's Japanese voice say, "Legon!" I really like the English dub version of Yu Yu Hakusho. So can it be made? Well, considering that we have Dragon Ball FighterZ, yes, of course it can be made. It's literally just Dragon Ball FighterZ with a Yu Yu Hakusho skin. Now, would they make it? I think so. Considering it would be a competitive fighting game based on a well-known old school anime, it should do well sales-wise. It might even be played at EVO. And finally, the lightning round. These are quick game ideas that fans would love to see, but are probably not getting made. The Yu Yu Hakusho Storm-like game. Basically a Yu Yu Hakusho 3D arena fighter developed by Cyberkinetic 2 that would play very similar to the Naruto Storm series. My friend suggested this idea to me, in which I almost made this a perfect game idea of today, but I just think a 2D fighter would do better worldwide, in which a 3D fighter would most likely appeal to only Yu Yu Hakusho fans. And that's pretty much the only other idea for a Yu Yu Hakusho game I can think of, really. But I think it's enough. And that's all for today. If you've watched this entire video and you don't know anything I was talking about or none of the characters I mentioned, I urge you to go watch Yu Yu Hakusho. It's a classic that still holds up to today. It's only 112 episodes, and like I said, that's nothing, considering I'm a One Piece fan. Also, like I said before, it's one of the few anime with a great English dub.
It's been too long since our last fight. You ready? Bring it on, bitch!
So go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. It's on Funimation, which is only $7.99 a month for the Premium Plus. And no, I'm not being sponsored by them. Look at my subscriber count. I'm not sponsored yet. Come back next week where I talk about my idea for the perfect My Hero Academia game. Well, I'm Red Ronnie and this has been Perfect Anime Games. See you next Tuesday.